Namaste from Gangtok, where I am right now, and greetings to all our viewers wherever they are on the globe. Honored to be here. Thank you so much, Molly, Alok, and Amresh for getting me onto this platform. Looking forward to being of value to IFBIC. Allow me to share my screen as we start the topic. We are living in an era of amazing opportunities. And these opportunities are directly or indirectly a result of various factors, which is what we are going to see. There is no doubt that the last 5 to 7 years have created an extremely volatile, uncertain, definitely chaotic, and quite an ambiguous environment. My experience, having worked in the armed forces and various other similar domains, wherever there is uncertainty, two things come. First and foremost, there are maximum opportunities. Secondly, there are no restrictions, there are no boundaries. Whatever we think can become a reality. So with this, let's get into more of how this presentation is going to go. Very short presentation, just 8 or 9 slides. We'll discuss certain perspectives which are critical. What are the opportunities which are emerging because of these perspectives? A little bit of information about me and areas where I think I can contribute to IFBIC. Sit back, relax, and allow me to take you on a journey. We are going to take a journey through time. We'll first talk about the rates of change that humanity has seen. Let's go back in time, 1903. It's the year 1903, and the world is waiting expectantly. 17th of December. It's somewhere in California, Long Beach, and two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They're trying to fly the first heavier than air machine, and they succeed. 17th of December, 1903. Man made the first heavier than air flight. A great event. It changed the way everything was going to happen in the future. What impact did it have at that point of time? Excepting for history books, a big fat zero. Nothing happened. It did not affect anybody else. Yes, it made the news, champagne, a lot of partying, but it did not affect anybody else. The first commercial flight actually took place in 1914. It was a very short 23-minute flight between Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg, and they could carry only 2 passengers. That lasted for 2 months. And again, nothing changed. Nothing happened. It was only after the Second World War, post 1945, that aviation actually came into being. And commercial flying took on using military surplus planes. Let's fast forward a little bit from 1903, 1908. Henry Ford came out with the Model T Ford. The first commercial car ever. So what? It didn't make a difference to most people because most people could not afford to buy it, and there were no roads or infra actually to run it. It took another 30 years before automobiles actually took off. Again, a little bit of fast forward. The year is 1969. Before this, the US and Russia were engaged in a space race, trying to get satellites up, and Yuri Gagarin made the first circumnavigation of the globe in space, and 1969 saw the world looking expectantly at Neil Armstrong. One small step for me, one giant step for mankind. Great. So what? Again, I'll keep asking, so what? The computing power which was used for the moonshot was a great feat at that point of time. This is 1969. Please note the timeline. In 1973, Nintendo launched its first video game. The computing power of that video game was more than the computing power which was used in 1969. Just 4 years later. Let's move ahead. We come to 1975. 1975, Cray computers were launched. That was the first supercomputer in the world. And again, the world went crazy. Supercomputer. It filled up a whole room, and it used to overheat. So many things were there. It was something crazy, but it was a supercomputer. And if any other nation wanted to use it, it had to pay a princely sum to another nation which had that supercomputer. Again, so what? Just fast forward another 20 years. 2007, Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. That small device, that iPhone, had more computing power than the Cray supercomputer. Why did this happen? It all happened because of a prophecy or a law or the foresightedness of one man named Gordon Moore, who was the boss of Intel, which manufactured these chips. And he said the power of computing is going to double every 2 years. Or rather, what he actually said was that the number of semiconductors or transistors on one chip is going to double every 2 years, which is what is bringing us to where we are today. The exponential growth in computing power is what has changed the world exponentially, rapidly in the last 5 to 7 years. And we see disruptive technology, artificial intelligence, possible only because of Moore's law, because of the way computing power has actually come into being. 5G, augmented reality, digital workspaces, all possible only because of the extensive computing power which has come about because of the way technology has grown and because of a prophecy which is now a law. That's one perspective which we need to keep in mind when we look at anything. Why? I'll come to later. The next thing is the last 3-4 years have seen us dealing with various pandemics in terms of, COVID was there, then we have monkey flu, this flu, that flu, something or the other is happening. So that's another factor which is playing at the back of our mind. It is affecting the way we think. So when we look at all these changes, let's get on to the effect on our mindset. How does it affect our mindset? There is no doubt in the present age, we are in a very volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous environment. There's no doubt. Nobody today can predict with certainty what's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe you can make an educated guess, add some data, but we never know when that little computing power is going to come and change things. I'll give you an example of this. Before the exponential changes which happened in computing power, everything revolved or evolved around big things like corporates coming up, steel and stuff like that. Big industries. Yet in 2011, it was one small app which went on to become the most valuable startup in the world or the world has ever seen. And that was possible only because of Moore's law and the computing power which is available. I'm talking about Uber. In 2011, Uber revolutionized the way things happen. And it's just an app. The basic concept of Uber is just an app. So everything is changing around us, yet we are human version 1.0. The human being has not changed. So there are so many things which are playing on our minds. We are maybe sometimes looking at things in the correct perspective. Maybe we need to realign our thought processes. Because of this volatility, uncertainty, chaos, we are sometimes thinking long-term, sometimes thinking short-term, and confused most of the time. If I start thinking long-term, I suddenly find that something is happening, there's some change happening, which is, sort of jumbling up my thinking. If I think short term, then I get worried. Is this going to work out? Why isn't it not going to work out in the long term? Is it going to work out in the short term? So this is leading to an analysis paralysis for a lot of leaders across industries, across domains. I work with a majority of them at very senior levels, and these are the challenges which they face. And that's why I'm sharing it here. And it's a reality. Look at how we are. You speak to anybody today, whether that guy is a prince or a pauper, it doesn't matter. Say, okay, things are okay. Life is going on well. But there's something which I'm not able to put my finger on it, but there's something which is happening. That something is that uncertainty which is happening. That little bit of small changes that keep happening around us. We are still trying to align ourselves and balance ourselves with that. I go to a cup of Joe's for coffee every evening, and suddenly I find that this guy. I walked into it, and he says, "Now we're going to scan this app, and only then I can give you your coffee. There's a QR code and all." I said, "Come on, I've been a customer for the last 3 years. You can't do that to me." He said, "No, you got to do it." So these are small changes which are happening around us, and they are affecting us. So we started off this presentation by stating that wherever there is chaos and uncertainty, there are opportunities. So what are the opportunities which are out there? First and foremost, transforming leadership. Leadership has to be transformed because they are the decision makers, and they are dealing with organizations, funds, people, growth. And if they are left in an ambiguous situation, it is going to cause a decision dilemma, which is going to cascade down to everybody. The organization, investors, people around us, from top to down, is going to be a matter of concern. I've just been sent a text by Divakar, who says that VUCA has become DUCA because of huge disruptions in place. Actually, this absolutely right. Volatility has led to a lot of disruption. That's why we're talking about it today. The next thing which comes up is capacity building. We've had the great resignation coming in. We've had workplaces being challenged for manpower, human power. We've had corporates trying to get in people from here, there, and everywhere to try and cope up with the way things are. So look at it this way. On one hand, we have tech, which is revolutionizing and changing every minute. And on the other hand, we have experienced workforces who are moving away from the workforce and getting into the great resignation, doing things, getting to startups, whatever. Where is or who is going to bridge this gap? That's where capacity building is required. And capacity building is something which is of paramount requirement anywhere. You take any industry today, the churning of human resource is so much that capacity building has to be quick, it has to be effective, and it has to have an ROI. Otherwise, we are reaching stages where an industry is moving forward and it's suddenly stopping because the manpower or the human resource is not able to cope up with the rate of change of that industry. The next point where I feel that opportunities exist is vision creation. Yeah, I know vision creation, everyone talks about it, ideation, vision. These are all English words which we've used in so many presentations and stuff like that. Agreed. What's the difference? In previous times, before, let's say, maybe the past 5-6 years, vision was the domain of leaders, big people. They went into boardrooms, conference rooms, made a lot of PPTs, saw a lot of things, then created something, and out came a vision. Today, while that is equally important, what's important is having the ability and capability of getting the entire workforce aligned to a vision. Why? Unless a workforce from bottom to top is aligned with a particular vision, you're going to face this churning, you're going to face this volatility of people leaving, inability of people to cope up with change, and that enterprise is not going to get the results it set out for itself. So in all this, we are seeing a world where things are changing rapidly. We are needing to challenge leadership. We are needing to change the way leadership thinks, capacity building, vision creation. And in all this, we must also keep in mind that we have only one planet Earth. This is a challenge where everyone has been talking sustainability. Everyone has been talking sustainability. The groundwork which is being put in now, because of the realization which came about, probably because of the pandemic and various other people going through, life-changing experiences and looking at life and work and profit differently. Sustainability is something which is extremely important in this day and age. So these are the opportunities which came to my mind: transforming leadership, capacity building, vision creation, and sustainability. Coming down to being slightly egoistic and talking about myself, I've been a soldier. I was in the army for around 20 years. Been there, done that. I was in the infantry, fought a few battles, did stuff. I mean, it's all there in the bio, so you can read about it later. It gave me a lot of great experiences in terms of capacity building. It gave me experiences in sustainability projects, infra, and even the opportunity to create small cities or townships. So that's been a great experience for me as a soldier. I've been a pilot. I flew in the Kargil war. I flew helicopters in the war as well, and transformed or translated that experience and became a commercial pilot. I've been flying in civil aviation now. And as that went on, I realized that there's so much more to do because I've always been involved with training and capacity building. I went on to become a coach, and again, without being egoistic, I hold the best credentials the world can offer in terms of a coach. I'm certified by the International Coach Federation. I'm certified by Marshall Goldsmith. I'm certified by the Global Coach Group. I'm certified by Daniel Goleman and Richard Bandler for neuro-linguistic programming. So putting all these experiences and everything together, I've started a small consulting organization called Ambition Mantra, through which I conduct a program called 21st Century Leadership and various other leadership projects, including a program called the Da Vinci Mode, where I talk about creativity and innovation. How can I contribute? Based on my background, the experiences have been some of the areas where I feel I have the capability to contribute to IFBIC is definitely in transforming leadership, bringing about new thought, experimenting, evolving. I've handled projects, big, small, across geographies, hostile terrain, hostile environments. So any project is something which I can manage for IFBIC. I have extensive experiences in the Northeast, having built up infra in Arunachal, Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, and that included working with the governments and setting up aviation and tourism synergies for the Aam Aadmi, the people of the state, to use in all these places. Sustainability projects have been part of my life in the armed forces, and that's something which is very close to my heart, and that's something which I feel is an area we really need to work. Again, capacity building. Across industries, I've had the experience. I was part of the Prime Minister's initiative called Karm Yogi, where we went partnered with the Indian Railways, went down to the grassroots levels, selected. Firstly, we analyzed what is required. And like I said earlier, we are looking for fast turnarounds. Nobody has time to train people for 1 month. We need to build capacity by creating programs which are short, intense, and effective. So this program which we built for the railways, that was just a 7-day program. 2 days we trained them. 2 days we made them train us. We made them trainers in 4 days. And in the 5th day, we allowed them to do their presentations and release them to go and train the rest of the workforce. A similar project, as again part of the Karmyogi program, we did with the police forces of Pondicherry, Goa, and also with the Delhi police recently. So that's as far as the areas, and I'm sure with the vision and the foresight which the people in this forum have, I'm sure you would be able to find even more areas where my experiences and energies could be used for the benefit of IFBIC. I've come to the end of what I had to present. Any discussion, any questions, we can go about it now.